Aloha! I'm Eric Anderson, pastor of Church of the Holy Cross, United Church of Christ in Hilo, Hawaii. And here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about the 13th chapter of Mark's Gospel. This coming Sunday is the beginning of Advent, a new season for us in the church here. It is also the beginning of a new church year. Our church years begin with the preparation for the birth of Christ. It is also the shift from year A of the Revised Common Lectionary to year B. We spent the last year mostly reading our gospel lessons from Matthew. This year, we'll spend much of our time hearing from the Gospel of Mark. So, new year, new season, new gospel. Then why is it that this reading from Mark, with warnings about calamity and the repeated advice to be ready, to be prepared, sounds just like what we've been hearing from Matthew for the last few weeks? Partly it's the nature of the lectionary, but partially it's the nature of Advent. Sensibly enough, the lectionary runs through the readings more or less in order, with some adjustment for the appropriate seasons like Easter and Pentecost, so that we end year A with readings from Matthew that come from the end of Jesus' ministry, from his time in the temple, from his last instructions given to his disciples on the Mount of Olives. That's what we've been hearing these last few weeks, and they have been the readings about being prepared and ready. It's also about the nature of Advent, which is about preparing for the coming of Christ. But of course, Jesus has already been born. He has not yet returned in the way that Christianity has looked for these last 2,000 years. So we begin Advent with this reminder that history is not fully accomplished, that Christ's work is not yet done. There is something yet to anticipate, to pray for, to hope for. Jesus preceded these words about getting ready with some not terribly hopeful words about what we're getting ready for. He talked of wars and calamities. He described something which the later survivors of the fall of Jerusalem would have recognized as being awfully close to what happened. It reminds us that the love of God is for the hard times, the bad times, the tragic times, the calamitous times. Certainly we have been through calamities these last few years, and there are people in the world right now whose lives are in ongoing catastrophe, particularly those living beneath the scourge of war. As I said, this passage reminds us of God's ever-present love and care, God's ability to sustain us through catastrophe and to bring us on into a more blessed and promised time. For any of us, the end of history could come at any time, through illness or injury or accident or some other mischance of the world. But for any of us, the end of our history is not the end of our relationship with God. It is not the end of God's love for us. It is not the end of the soul and spirit that God placed within us. So even as we prepare for a return of Jesus, remember again that we never know when it comes. And so let us be prepared, as Jesus advised us in Matthew 25, by caring, by loving, by hoping and believing. That's what I'm thinking. I'm curious to hear what you're thinking. Send me an email or leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. From Church of the Holy Cross, UCC in Hilo, Hawaii, that's what I'm thinking.